Coming up today on the Indie Wave podcast, Payton Goldston is a man with a higher calling, and his music is testament to that calling. Today we'll chat about his divinely inspired music and his experience making it while riding the Indie Wave. That's coming up today, only on the Indie Wave podcast.
Blessed are those who endure through the storms of this world, who are seeking after you, seeking after you. Take away all my pain, forget all.
With That Sailing Guy.
Stay tuned, couple messages coming right up.
Also known as Christopher German. In partnership with Glacier FM. And broadcasting from the birthplace of grunge, Aberdeen, Washington.
Welcome to the Indie Wave podcast. I'm your host, That Sailing Guy. Every week, we aim to tell another story from the world of the indie music scene and find out what each artist we feature has learned and where they're heading. We do this with the help of Glacier FM, who vets and recommends each artist to us based upon how you, the listener, have responded to their music. And today, our guest is breaking new ground over at Glacier FM with his hit, Blessed, by not only directing his talents to a higher cause, but also gaining an amazing fan base for his work in the offing. His name is Payton Goldston, and his musical talents could be used for R&B, rap, hip-hop, or maybe even a little pop. But instead, he aims to spread the good word with his music and use his faith to inspire others, while also producing a faith-based podcast that he has titled Refocus. Now, as we always do, I have a bit of his top hit, Blessed, to play for you before we hear from the man himself in an exclusive interview I shot with Payton Goldston, followed by a full version of his hit, I'm All Yours. So, without further ado, and in the full interest of time, let's get to it. Here is Blessed by Payton Goldston, only on the Indie Wave podcast.
Real deal about my life, a silver spoon, had a fight, got into a lot of mess, it's true, yeah. Cold-blooded, couldn't care, his grace, I'm still here, was dying until my God up here. I was confused, I thought I didn't need no God. I was longing for a savior, life needed some flavor, his truth is right there, yeah. Nowadays I got my feet up, in the hands of the Redeemer. No longer worried about the reaper, since I have life in Jesus. Father, bless my soul, cause I've been feeling weary lately. Those cloudy days now gone, my praise is going to you daily. Good Father, bless my soul, cause I've been feeling weary lately. Those cloudy days now gone, my praise is going to you daily. Thank the Lord for the come up, gotta keep it 100, so amazed that I'm still breathing. Years ago I had nothing, now showered in blessings, hallelujah, with everything in me. Days when life don't like me, I know God got me. Leave the stress where it is, move forward in Him. Say to myself, keep pushing.
Today we have a very special guest with us. He's a gentleman that is as in tune with the Lord as he is with his own music. He's got some amazing sounds out there. He's tearing up the charts over at Glacier FM with his song Blessed, and he is doing amazing works on all sorts of places. And quite frankly, if you haven't checked him out already, you should have checked him out by now. But just in case, that's why we're going to talk to him today, so that you can absolutely fall in love with the guy the way I have. Before we talk about anything further, let me first introduce you to Payton Goldston. Payton, put your face on the screen. Let's talk to you a little bit, shall we, sir?
All righty. How's everybody doing? Hello.
Hey, so tell me, I mean, you have like lots and lots of videos out there. You're doing really well on the streaming platforms. You're doing amazing works. Glacier FM could more highly recommend you for coming on this podcast. So tell me, where did you get your inspiration from, and how did this all get started?
Oh, man. So to make a long story short, my family has been involved with music. My mom was a singer. My grandma was a singer. And so they, I've been around music pretty much since I can remember. Cousins been around music, everybody's just been around music and involved in music in some way, shape, or form. And, just growing up in school, everybody was just, kind of just pointing to me as the singing guy. And so, I just fell into that as my thing, as what I wanted to do in life. I wanted to, make it, eventually do it full time, and do it for a living. And then, suddenly, in my teenage years in high school, some friends of mine invited me to church, and they used music as a way to kind of lure me in. So I got invited to church, started to learn more about God, and realized I can use my talent for God as well. And, stayed in church to really develop my talent. And, just opportunities started to come from there. People with studios, and then eventually me getting my own studio equipment and shows and conferences, and eventually, being a part of a group for 10 years, and then now I'm doing music on my own solo. It's been a wild journey, but man, it's been awesome. And just like I said, it's just something I've always, that's always been in my plate, always been in my wheelhouse. And, I just wanted to, take it further.
Well, and quite frankly, if you just catch you on the radio, which a lot of people do if they catch you on Glacier FM, they may not get the more spiritual side of what you're doing. They may not get that in the lyrics, because you speak really, really fast and blessed. That's amazing. But there is a message with all your works, and it shows that you have a really good relationship with God. You're really touched in that way, and you're really in tune with your spiritual side, and you're really in tune with all that kind of stuff. How much of that is coming through in terms of your followers? Are you getting where are you getting most of your love from?
Yeah, definitely getting most of my love from people who are also believers, people who are also into church, and that comes a little bit from my previous work with my previous group, which was a Christian hip hop group called Battleground City, and then a lot of that comes from just over the years of me being doing worship at different churches here in Tucson or in Arizona, and then also with my new endeavor, the collective that I'm a part of called City Psalms, is also faith-based. So a majority of my fans are definitely faith-based, but I also speak a lot about hope, and I make it very relatable to where it's not just, you don't have to necessarily know God to understand what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want. I want everybody to get it. I want everybody to understand that there's hope, even in the dark times. And so I do tend to get people who are touched and inspired, that such as yourself, that just like my music for what it is, and love the message for what it is. So, well,
I tell you, that riff you have going at the beginning of Blessed really just grabs you, and it just grabs you by the throat, and you have to listen to it, because it's a lot of fun to listen to. And quite frankly, and that's I think one of the reasons why I've been a little bit hesitant to get behind a lot of spiritual music, because a lot of times it seems very preachy, or it's very it just doesn't have the grabbiness to it that your music has. And you have a hell of a hook on your, excuse me for using that word, but you have a good you have a wonderful hook in your music, and you really do engage people, and you bring it in there really, really well. And so I think your composition is really quite engaging, whether you're spiritual or not. It's a fun listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole intent, is to get everybody to relate. I mean, God is relatable in all ways. And so, I don't want to come off preachy, but I do want to be unapologetic with who I am. And so I'm glad that you like it.
Well, tell me this. Where are you going? How is your downloads? How's your YouTube following? How's that all working for you? What's your marketing plan look like?
So right now it's been on a little bit of a downslope, and rightfully so. I took a year off after I took 2022 off from music. I was just me and my wife got a new house. We're trying to start a family. And so I just focused on my day-to-day life. So definitely, Spotify streams are where majority of my attention comes from. And so, going into this year, I'm going to be releasing some new music. So, I want to try to build up build back up Spotify, build up YouTube. I got a ton of videos on there. So, and then I also do a podcast myself. So, I'm trying to just gain more attention and let people know more about me. And then, where, kind of what comes behind the music as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell me this. I mean, how much of, because I'm not as familiar with the indie side of religious music, but it's got to be there. They have recording companies that are for religious music. So why wouldn't they have an indie side to that as well? Tell me about the indie side to religious music.
So just being 100% real, there's always an audience. It doesn't, as long if you're doing it for the Lord, there's a church out there who's like, hey, what you're doing is representing God. We'll have you out for this event or that event. So there's always something to do. And that kind of community and that kind of network was always something that I really loved about the Christian music community, is that there's always somebody who is willing to put you on and put you on a show, put you on an event, put you, whether you're good or whether you're not so good, being brutally honest, they still will show you love. And that to me is great, because, it really helps, it really helps with getting that momentum. I think the harder part is to then reach out to people who aren't spiritual, reach outside of the church and say, hey, this is what I'm about. This is what I'm doing, because now you got to really prove yourself. Now it's really about, all right, are you talented? All right, are people paying attention to you? And so that's where I've seen the big challenge. But as far as the community goes, of the church community, it's been wonderful.
Well, I'm thinking of other crossover artists, like Amy Grant is a big one that comes to mind, where she started with religion and she forayed over into the pop music side for a little while, but then she went right back to her roots. And she's a very happy, very healthy, very well balanced, and actually she's still very prolific artist right now, and she's doing her thing. What do you see? Are you ever going to foray over into pop for a little bit and then go back? What do you think you're going to do?
Yeah, I definitely have some R&B. I'm a huge R&B head, so that before I had an encounter with God, I was my mom would be listening to, R&B legends like Anita Baker and Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston. So, that's where my roots are at. So definitely, there's going to be some less spiritual songs, but, still very, very inspirational, still very positive, just a lot of stuff on, me being married for going on 7 years now. I have a lot of songs that I'll be releasing about me and my marriage to my wife, talking about relationships, talking about love, and it's going to be stuff that's going to be relatable to everybody. So I think I would dip into that. If pop, I don't think I'm that big into pop, but if there were ever opportunities, I would definitely take them.
Well, tell me about this then, because I'm gonna end. I always end these conversations with another track that you're gonna play, and one of the ones that I listened to, which I was a really big fan of, is "I'm All Yours," which I think has some great footage of Suarez of cacti down there in Tucson, and you've got some great pictures in there, but you also have a huge message behind that song. What's that message behind that song?
So that's, like I've been talking about, that's about giving, talking about hope. And, at that time that I wrote that song, that was in the crazy year of 2020. And, a lot had happened. My, obviously with COVID, social unrest, and then having to adjust with all that, having to fly out in the midst of all that across the country, from Arizona to South Carolina, because my grandma fell ill, and unfortunately she passed away that same year. So having to deal with all that, some people feel like God or religion is a crutch, and I'm like, no, it's needed. We need, sometimes there is a need for that. There is a need for God. I always say there's a need for God. And it's never a crutch. It's always a help. You don't take medicine because you're weak. You take medicine because you're sick. You need to get healthy. You don't seek help from people because you're weak. You seek help because you want to be better. And that's the same thing with God. And so I'm All Yours was just a personal song to him, to God, saying, look, I'm all yours, God. Like, in the midst of everything that's crazy, in the midst of everything that's going on in my life, I have no direction. Guide me. I'm all yours.
Well, and I think what you also did with that is you made a great musically based song, which is a lot of fun to listen to, and you got some great footage on there as well. So we're going to go with that right now. We're going to play I'm All Yours by Payton Goldston, and we're going to play that track right now. So tune in, listen, and make sure you buy this guy's music, because it's a lot of good words he's putting out there. Thanks for watching.
Yes, I'm all yours. Yes, I'm all yours. I'm all yours. I'm all yours. You give me courage when I don't wanna go. You are the answer when I'm unsure. Correct my footsteps when I don't follow. I'm all yours. Breathe your breath in me so I can speak. Light up the night when dark is all I see. Your hands holding my life, so I will sing. I'm all yours. Never stop pursuing after me. You gave your life despite us being enemies. You're so incredible, I can hardly speak. I'm all yours. I'm all yours. Turned my heart to flesh when it was stone. You are my peace and joy in the storm. Feeling so free when you're in control. I'm all yours. You take the burden I cannot hold. Covered in love when heartbreak is all I know. I put my trust in you, sovereign Lord. I'm all yours. Never stop pursuing after me. You gave your life despite us being enemies. You're so incredible, I can hardly speak. I'm all yours. I'm all yours. I'm all yours. Never stop pursuing after me. You gave your life despite us being enemies. You're so incredible, I can hardly speak. I'm all yours. I'm all yours. Yes, I'm all yours. I'm all yours. Yes, I'm all yours. I'm all yours. Yes, I'm all yours. I'm all yours. I'm all yours. Yes, I'm all yours. I'm all Jesus, I'm yours. I'm all yours. Yes, I'm all yours. I'm all yours. I'm all yours. Never stop pursuing after me. You gave your life despite us being enemies. You're so incredible, I can hardly speak. I'm all yours. I'm all yours. I'm all yours.
Hey there, I'm Christopher German, host of the Indie Wave podcast, broadcasting from here in Aberdeen, Washington. I've created some pretty amazing podcasts and founded some incredible businesses over the years. The thing that made my entrepreneurial efforts a success was the fact that my brand's work ubiquitous. That means you can find them everywhere. Now, I know that owning a business in Grays Harbor can be a challenge. Getting customers to notice you is ever important, and the best way I can help you do that is to help you create a video that explains to your customers around the world what it is you do and how your service or product is important to their needs. Now, it's not expensive like radio or TV advertising, and all you have to do is use the tools that are at your very fingertips, along with the podcast we create to make your business a success. And all you have to do that is make the video, and that's where I can help. I will create a promotional video for your business that meets your needs and fits inside your budget so that you too can make your business ubiquitous. All you have to do is message me today to get started. I offer free consultation, and I can offer a full line of services to help you grow your social media presence and get you more business. All you have to do is call 252-617-3792 or email me at info@thechartedlife.net. Aberdeen, let's grow together, and let's make the city of Aberdeen ubiquitous. So for this week's takeaway, I want to talk a little bit about God. For some, they grow up feeling that God has chosen them for a life on the stage. Others think that talent comes from the Almighty exclusively, and if you're not born with it, you just can't do it. My feeling is that when it's time for us to share our little God-given gifts with the world, God lets us know it. In my case, I spent most of my adult life at the helm of a boat. I thought that was what God had planned for me to do. But when, for the second time in my life, I lost my business due to a hurricane, I realized that God had a different purpose for me. God chose my course change as a way to open my eyes and make me aware to the fact that I have ADHD. I don't know if that boat getting trashed in the hurricane was the hand of God, or if it didn't happen, I would never have tried to start the Charted Life Television. And I never would have found out that I had ADHD. So maybe, just maybe, God does his best to lead us in the right direction, and sometimes we fall off course. God has a way of putting us right back on course in due time, I guess. But when it's your time to share your God-given gifts with the world, well, he'll let you know it when it's time to do that too. And that's this week's takeaway. Big thanks to Payton Goldston for letting us share his music and tune in a little bit of his faith. I'm so glad we got to hear this, and I'm so glad the good Lord put us all in the same place to be able to put this show together. Big thanks also goes out to Glacier FM for keying me into the fact that Payton Goldston and the Refocus podcast is out there. If you would like to give his podcast a listen, you can find it on Facebook at Payton Refocus, or on Spotify and anywhere else you find great podcasts to listen to. And while you're looking for podcasts, check us out on Spotify, Pandora, Google, and everywhere else you can find great podcasts to listen to. And of course, on Glacier FM and on YouTube. Tune in every week at 2 p.m. Eastern Time to get our newest episodes, and every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific for a sneak peek at who we're talking to next. And finally, big thanks to you for tuning in and hitting that subscribe button. You put the wind in my sails, and I know you also give our artists a great big boost when you download these episodes and share them with your friends. So, until next time, remember, do good, have fun, and sail far. From me, that sailing guy. Thank you for playing along, and good day.